Okay, well, welcome NSBE Professionals. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of our global NSBE members across the world. I want to welcome you to our NSBE Professionals monthly webinar series. So we can start with a few introductions. My name is Camila Majid, and I have the honor of serving as your National Chair-elect for the NSBE Professionals. I am based in Region 1 and have been a member of NSBE for more than 20 years. Really happy to serve you tonight. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce my co-host, Dr. Reginald Archer. Reggie?
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Reginald Archer. I'm serving as the National PEB Parliamentarian and the 2020 Professional Development Conference Chairperson. I've been serving at NSBE Leadership for quite a while. Maybe not as long as Ms. Camila has, but maybe as long. But either way, I have been serving in various positions, chapter, regional, national level. I'm currently in Region 3 in Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm glad to be serving you all this evening.
Well, Dr. Archer, we're going to have such a great night. So now that they know how many years I've been involved and you haven't said your number of years, I take it we're going to have a good one tonight. Anyway, awesome. So that is great. So we have a topic tonight, which is called, You Are the Next NSBE Professional Leader. What is your role? Well, attendees, we're going to be experiencing a wonderful conversation about leadership, about empowering, leading, inspiring, and changing. And we have three special guests tonight, which are going to provide some leadership reflections to you. But let me tell you a little bit about our monthly webinar series. So this webinar series really provides our membership with diverse topics covering industry and technology, membership and society happenings, and professional development topics like tonight. Tonight's topic, we're really going to focus on what is it like to be engaged as a leader, specifically looking at the next year and the years beyond. You're going to hear from current and former leaders about their journey and experiencing what fulfilling the mission is all about. So I invite you to really sit back and relax and listen to our journey, listen to how we define leadership. Think about becoming a leader, whether it's on your chapter, regional, or national level, and how the NSBE Professionals will prepare you for an awesome career in your corporate life. So Dr. Archer, are we ready to get moving? All right, so we're going to cover a couple topics tonight, and we're going to take you through the agenda. So the first thing is we're going to cover the what and the why on NSBE Professionals leadership. And then we're going to open it up and hear from some of our leaders from around the United States, and they're going to provide some leadership reflections. Dr. Archer is going to tell us how we're going to work together and gear up to lead, and we are certainly going to leave some time in the end for you all to have some questions and some discussion where needed. Just want to make a note that this webinar will be recorded and it will be posted on one of our social media handles, specifically our YouTube channel. If you are not subscribed, we do encourage you to look us up, NSBE Professionals, on YouTube. If you're looking at the slide, take a look at a lot of the faces that we have here. Poet laureate, media mogul, Harvard graduate, first NSBE PEB national chair, executive leader in defense systems industry, Stanford graduate, Black Girls Code, President of the United States, First Lady, Emmy winner, industry maven. When I see these faces, there's a couple of thoughts that come to me. I see the faces of all these leaders. What comes to mind for you as you peruse their photos? Do you think of their accomplishments? Do you think of, hey, maybe I'll get there one day? Were they born to lead? Did they just fall into it? Were they asked to lead? What impact have they made in their communities, their industry, and their society? Take a look. Do you see any familiar faces? Do you remember any words that they may have said that have impacted you? Have you benefited from some of their actions that they've done in and around the community or perhaps globally? Take a look, think about it. So when we look at NSBE Professionals leadership, you want to talk about the what. So when I sat down and thought about how I would walk through the what of what it's like to be a leader in the professionals for NSBE, I think of a lot of organizations that are very similar to ours, some that are in the technical space, some that are in more of the community growth, community environment, some that have a global impact. So if you look at the list, there's SWE, there's PMI, there's National Black MBA, there's National Society of Professional Engineers. There's even the National Urban League and the NAACP. So many different organizations that have leaders and have members. And I thought that we all have these four core things in common. People. Our organizations exist for us to have engaged and active members. I also think about the economics of our organizations, our fiduciary latitude and growth, and basically our ability to really fundraise and to stretch out to corporate partners and to be a profit sharing organization. And then I also think about the ecosystem, and that ecosystem is basically our community and the impact that we have, as well as the involvement that we play and the role that we play in developing the community. And then of course, our book of business. And what's our book of business? Our programs. When you look across all these organizations, I'm sure many of you could really name a lot of programs that you've either heard of, that you've participated in, but these organizations have certainly have programs that we have benefited in some way, shape, or form. Think about those four areas: people, economics, ecosystem, and the book of business. So since tonight's topic is really talking about NSBE leadership, I thought it might be good to just give you a quick glimpse of what our National Society of Black Engineers Professional Executive Board looks like. Now, this slide is not as clear as it could be because you know what? It means that we've got a lot of moving people, a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot that we do on a national level. So let me take you to the next slide so you can get a better view as to how we function. So we've got three key pillars. So myself and Dr. Archer, we represent the National Professional Executive Board, where we have a board of about 20 persons. And we manage all of the large objectives that affect the national professional side of NSBE. But we also have our Regional Professional Executive Board, as well as our local chapters and their professional executive boards. All of these are viewed as board of directors. Many of us really sit down and think, oh, I'm just on a board. It doesn't really have as great as an impact. But I think that one of the things that we want to look at as we look forward professional leadership is how we are valued as leaders. And our way that we should be looking at it ourselves is as board of directors. The leadership that lies within NSBE is within each of these operating areas. Think about your leadership experience that you've had thus far, and also think about the leadership experience that you could look forward to. We function like a board of directors. No matter the size of the project, no matter the event, always picture your role as a functioning board of directors member. So for any chapter members that are listed out there, when you address your membership, let them know, say, I'm not just a chapter leader, I'm a board of directors that governs this city or this town. So I showed you the structure of our professional executive board. I talked about us being a board of directors, but what really is it to be a NSBE professional leader? Myself and Dr. Archer talked about the number of years that we've spent in the organization and the different roles that we've had. And I think of three things that really make a NSBE professional leader. The first is someone who is really dedicated and passionate about volunteering. The second is being a STEM enthusiast. So many of us come from different walks of life, whether we've studied science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or whether we've been thrusted into a position or a company and we work to support their objectives in STEM. I also look at us as a contributing stakeholder. While we are members of the organization, we're contributing to it and to the growth of it. And of course, I would be remiss if I don't mention our mission to increase the number of culturally responsible Black engineers who excel academically, succeed professionally, and positively impact the community. This is what we do all of this for. We are deeply rooted in our mission. So in my opinion, the NSBE professional leader is one who is a STEM enthusiast, a passionate volunteer, and one who is a contributive stakeholder. So let's look at the leadership why. For some of you who are considering leadership, for some of you who have been in leadership, have you ever sat down to think about what are the benefits? Like, how have you benefited? What are the opportunities and what can you get from it? So this is a list that I think I have gotten from NSBE. The first is leveraging the leadership role experience for corporate growth opportunities. Today, so many companies and organizations, and I'd be remiss if I don't mention those of you who are involved in academia. You have such a wonderful opportunity to leverage all the leadership opportunities that you get in our society for growth in your career. You can gain a lot of skills, you can apply those corporate skills, and you can also develop unique and transferable skills. I'd never balanced a budget and did as much fundraising prior to me serving in one of many roles, such as finance chair in the organization. And that's something that I've been able to use and leverage in my current role. Collaborating with diverse peers. What an awesome opportunity you have to actually work alongside peers of you all who have studied together, who may have studied in different parts of the world. Networking is another great benefit of being a NSBE leader. And then let us not forget the career options that are available. And then we get to really impact our STEM pipeline. That's one thing that we always strive to do. For those who are familiar with our NSBE organization, we do have our collegiate segment, and we have an opportunity to really support and impact their growth so that they too could stand side by side with us as STEM professionals. Now, just as I mentioned the benefits of being a NSBE leader, there are challenges. Let's face it, when you get into your career, you are challenged. Work-life balance. You know, gone are the days when you are in your college career and you have the opportunity to be involved in different activities. As soon as you get into the work life, the work area, you definitely have responsibilities that are far different from your college years. So work-life balance is definitely a challenge when you look at being an active NSBE professional leader. Peer accountability and prioritization sort of connects to work-life balance. You know, there's always opportunities where you've got to rely on your peers for different objectives and things to get done, and prioritization becomes a challenge. And then the third one that I always like to think about is the value proposition for non-salaried volunteer work. This is a volunteer-based organization in terms of leadership. There is no quote unquote dollar payment. The payment is you get to support the mission. The payment is you get an opportunity to develop more, to develop your network in all those different areas. But I position that as a challenge because we do sometimes have to make choices and you say, well, if it's not my job, then I have to deprioritize it. But that's something that, you know, we like to always make sure that we touch on in terms of what it's like to be a NSBE leader. So how do we do it? How do we perform our jobs as NSBE leaders? Well, with all the technology that we have, we are more and more a virtual team. As mentioned before, we do a lot of peer-to-peer accountability. We work very collaboratively as teams. And as many of you have embraced this concept of NSBE love, that's how we do it. We do it for the sheer love of the organization. I wanted to share this quote with you all. It's something from Oprah, and it says, 3 of the most important words anyone can say are not I love you, but I hear you. When I think about my tenure as a NSBE leader, I think about one of the most important skills that I developed, and I continue to develop it, is hearing our membership and listening to what are they looking for and what keeps them engaged as NSBE members. And I think about the why, and that why is our membership. If you look across all these photos here, we have a number of chapters that are so active all across the United States and also outside of the United States. And this is why we do it. When you consider why you do it, it's definitely for the membership, is so you can impact them, live out the mission, develop yourself, network, and all those benefits that I mentioned earlier. So in speaking of the why and membership, we are going to hear from some awesome leaders that we have across the organization, because who wants to hear me talk for the next 10, 15 minutes? What better way to articulate a leadership experience and what it's like to be a NSBE than hearing from some of our leaders that we have across. So it gives me great pleasure to turn our presentation over to some leaders across the United States, and they're going to provide some leadership reflections. So I'd like to welcome our first special guest tonight, Miss Ashley Coleman, who is currently the president of the Charlotte Professionals chapter. Ashley?
Thank you, Camilla, and good evening, everyone. Once again, my name is Ashley Coleman, and I am currently the NSBE president for the Charlotte Professional chapter. I have a bachelor's degree in architectural engineering and a master's in civil engineering with an energy concentration, both from the illustrious North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. I am currently a technology development manager and emerging technology strategy at Duke Energy. I was active in many different organizations in college and didn't join NSBE until I moved to Charlotte as a professional member with the goal of meeting like-minded people in the area. And what better way to do that than to join a professional organization? With no prior NSBE experience, I jumped right into leadership by joining the Charlotte chapter as secretary to better understand the organization, get to know the members, and to develop leadership skills. And in the past 3 years, I took on roles as the secretary, membership chair, and now president. And I also manage the chapter's financial account. And on a lighter note, in my free time, I love to travel, spend time with close friends and family, and get involved in my community through leadership. So some of the benefits I've experienced in the NSBE leadership is professional development and interpersonal skills. So far in my career, I have had different roles as an individual contributor. And as chapter president, I take the opportunity to practice how to be a leader of others and how to interact effectively, discovering what works, what doesn't, while finding the confidence to execute on decisions. The chapter that, the NSBE chapter for Charlotte has hosted several executive suites, financial management seminars, and networking opportunities that have been very beneficial to me. Being a leader in NSBE, it also gives me the opportunity to have a platform to make a greater impact in my community. I've been invited to speak at various events representing myself and the organization, as well as mentor the next generation of future engineers through STEM activities, as Camilla mentioned earlier. But one of the biggest challenges that I face in leadership is membership engagement and time commitment. It's been a little difficult trying to encourage members to step into leadership roles and to retain membership. So time commitment is a big factor personally and feedback that I receive from others. And moving forward, I hope to find a better balance that is not too demanding for myself or membership, but be able to support the mission of NSBE. There are different synergies that I find between my career at Duke Energy and NSBE leadership. My job, I leverage aspects of project management that include facilitating and coordinating events and meetings, stakeholder engagement with the general body, executive board, regional and national leadership, as well as improving my communication skills. And from NSBE, skills that I've gained that I applied to my current job, public speaking, leading and collaborating with diverse thought, and managing financials for a nonprofit that I wouldn't have gained in my current career. Thank you.
Ashley, thank you so much for sharing your perspective. If anyone is interested in reaching out to Ashley, we do have her contact information on here. As she mentioned, she is doing an amazing job holding the mantle of being president, and that's not always easy, but when you have a large NSBE family around you, it eases some of the supposed pain. But NSBE Charlotte does have an Instagram. If you are interested in contacting them, please see the handles that are here and also try their website and see what's happening in the Charlotte area. Ashley, thank you so much for your leadership.
You're welcome. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, so we're going to continue our leadership reflections, and we are going to have next up Miss Denisha McPherson, who currently serves as the president of the New York City Excel Professionals chapter. Welcome, Denisha. Okay, I think we're just having a slight technical difficulty. Just give us 10 seconds. Okay, we also have one of our other panelists that is on as well while we try to sort out Denisha's technical difficulties. Shari, are you on? All right, just a moment. We are just sorting out. It seems like some of our attendees are muted by the system. So if you want to grab a glass of water, grab that really quickly, and we will be getting them on board just shortly. Okay, Denisha, you want to give it a try? Denisha or Shari? Okay. Let me see if I can probably unmute some of the folks that are on there. All right, we are the National Society of Black Engineers, and we're going to sort out this technical difficulty just in a moment. I'm going to put you on speaker, hopefully you can hear. Okay. Denisha, you want to try through here? I've got another alternative.
Okay.
All
Can you
right.
hear me?
All right, can everyone hear Denisha? Can you just put a hand up in the chat screen if you can?
We can.
Awesome. Okay, Denisha, you're on.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Denisha McPherson, PMP. I'm the president of the New York City Excel Professionals chapter. I can't move the slides, so you might have to do that for me too, Camille.
We got you. All right, you're on.
Awesome. So, undergrad, I did my BS in industrial engineering and psychology. I was a dual major at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. And I also did my master's in business management with a concentration in international business, also at RPI. I joined NSBE, funny enough, as a PCI student. So I joined NSBE in October of 2001 as a student at Brooklyn Technical High School. And my perspective about NSBE is that NSBE literally saved my life. And people sometimes laugh when I say that, but I don't think the trajectory of where I am and where I'm going would have been what it is if not for NSBE. And I'll tell you why. And this is a story that I tell all around the country to PCI students and to college students as a means of telling you that anything is possible and not to give up. So I joined NSBE in my 10th grade of high school. And when I joined NSBE, I didn't necessarily know what I was coming into, but I was blessed to be mentored in high school by the Excel chapter, the chapter that now I'm currently president of. And it gives me chills when I say that. Every time I get to say that I'm president of the chapter that nurtured me as a student, it's something that it means the world to me. 10th grade, I followed my passion. I knew that I wanted to be an engineer. And I told my math teacher at the time that I wanted to be an engineer. And what he said to me is words that I'll never forget. He said, some people shouldn't have such lofty goals. And I looked at him and I said, well, what do you mean by that? And he said, let's just put it this way. If you ever build a bridge, make sure you write your name in bold letters so I know not to cross that bridge. And in that moment, I could have taken two paths. One, I could have believed what he had to say, or two, I could have done what I did, is knock it off my shoulder and move on to the next level. And the reason why I was able to have that sense of confidence is because I had people around me, my parents being one of them, and then the NSBE Professionals as the other, to encourage me to continue on the path. So not only did I become an engineer, I became an engineer at the school that technically built engineers. This first school that offered engineering in the English-speaking free world. And that was Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. So one of the things that I always say that NSBE gave me the opportunity to do was to become a leader, and a leader from high school through my journey at RPI as a collegiate leader in a chapter, and also to serve on the regional executive board. And now paying it back as a professional, serving as a chapter leader in the profession. And the leadership benefits that I got from that is an extensive network of peers, lifelong friendships, workplace preparedness, and direct impact on the community. Challenges, membership buy-in. One of the things is that busy professionals always have something going on, whether it's family or other things. So trying to get members to buy into the activities that the chapter plans is a really big struggle. Time management, we have career, work-life balance, all those things that come up against the time, the things that demand our time. Organizational support, and one of the things that I feel is a challenge is to get support and buy-in from regional and national, and the hope is that there will be more engagement at the chapter level between our regional and our national representatives. And finally, pipeline and leadership development, because someone reached down and pulled me up. And I'm hoping that we as professionals go back into our communities and do the same thing. And finally, how it affects my synergy to my career. Really and truly, NSBE helped build the professional that I am. NSBE prepared me to face challenges of high-stress environments, because serving on the regional executive board and then chapter leadership, they prepared me to be able to step into the workplace and do that work. So when I was working for NBC and the Olympics, and working on projects all over the world, I had the skill sets that NSBE built into me from PCI all the way through to support me in that effort. And so I'm able to manage my time, manage logistics, have high quality interaction between high-level executives because of the experience that I had from undergrad all the way through. So ultimately, my one message to you in the end is that NSBE saves lives. And it's really important that we recognize the power that we have in our hands. So thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you, Denisha. We really appreciate your insight. And just like Ashley, you guys have a very unique story as to how you became a NSBE leader. And we certainly champion what both of you are doing on the chapter level. We know that you're down at ground zero and rolling up your sleeves, but we certainly appreciate it. And we will definitely look to work with you more. All right. And this is Denisha's contact information. If anyone would like to outreach to the New York City Professionals chapter, they too are very active on social media. NSBE NYC is the Instagram handle. All right. So we heard from two chapter leaders. Now we're going to shift over for one more reflection from one of our leaders that serves on a regional level. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome a third guest speaker for our leadership reflections. We have Ms. Shari M. Briggs, who currently serves as the Region 4 Professionals Chair-elect. Shari?
All right, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Sweet. Yeah, I had to call in on my phone. So yeah, the technical difficulties were all around. But yes, thank you guys so much for the opportunity to come speak to you guys and share a little bit about my leadership journey in NSBE. And hopefully you guys will have some similar stories and can relate. So a little bit about me, Shari Briggs, and I majored in mechanical engineering from Florida A&M University, very proud Rattler. And so where I am currently is a pretty interesting journey, is that I am now in HR as a university relations recruiter at Rockwell Automation. And a lot of the reason why I'm in that role is because of the fact that I found my passion for students and their journeys through recruiting from NSBE. And so it has been a very interesting journey from being an engineer to now in HR. And everyone kind of laughs when I tell them that I have an engineering degree now. So it's really one of those things that as you're going through life and you're putting in effort and you figure out like, wow, this is really where I want to be. So like I said, NSBE kind of helped me shift my career just a little bit and find a passion for recruiting and making sure that engineers that come into our company are able to find their way. So currently I am a Milwaukee area professionals chapter member. I actually have served in several different capacities on the regional and chapter level from my time at FAMU all the way up to now. So I've served as chapter president for both collegiate as well as for Milwaukee. I've also served as regional secretary for both collegiate in Region 3 and in Milwaukee. And so and lots of other chapter positions through then. So that kind of led me to where I am now as the Region 4 Chair-elect. And so again, I joined NSBE in 2005 at my chapter. And that was because someone saw something in me that I did not see in myself. So NSBE is, you've heard it before, but NSBE is definitely somewhere where you realize your potential and people see potential in you and they allow you the space and the encouragement to be great. So definitely one of those things that you want to kind of push into some of our current leaders on the collegiate and PCI levels as well. Really quick, one of the things that have as a fun fact, certified mixologist. So yeah, that's one of those things you do on the side. And the great thing about NSBE, like I said, is just those lifelong friendships that you have with the people that you see all the time, that you're always with, that you go to conferences and see. It's a magical organization for me. So moving on to the benefits of leadership. So one of the things that has come across that I actually don't like most of the times is the visibility. So introvert by nature, I don't like to be in front of the crowd. However, it is one of those things that has gotten me recognition, not only within NSBE, but also with my company that is a BCA partner. And so very active in Region 4. And by me being a Region 4 leader, a lot of my company's leaders have actually seen me in a leadership capacity. And so that's definitely going to help my career down the line, I'm pretty sure. And then also some of those transferable skills that I'm pretty sure that all of us have talked about. So the presentation skills, being able to do budgets and things like that, translate from being a NSBE leader to your work, to your professional career. So again, some of the challenges is, you know, fitting everyone's busy schedules. So as professionals, we all know we get married, get families, get lots of things that happen along the way. So it's a little harder to pin people's time down. So you just kind of have to time manage with that. And then also personally balancing your work when things get busy at work, having a second job that is kind of NSBE, and then also trying to have a personal life too. So, you know, those can be challenges. Sometimes you tend to miss out on certain things. I don't always get to go to $5 movie Tuesdays with my friends, but, you know, I get to do it every other week or so. So as far as the synergies to my career, right now I can say I'm trying to get a management role. So I'm like, hey, I manage people on a regional level. I've also managed people on a chapter level, so I can manage a group of peers as well as manage up. Multiple projects, so having to balance things that are going on at work as well as things that are going on with NSBE, wearing multiple hats at conferences. Knowing how to build a cohesive team is something that's very important at work, as we all know. So doing that on the NSBE level gives you that kind of exposure as well. And then I talked about it earlier. So budget management is something that we all know is very important for corporations because that is what they're there for, to make money. So being able to manage the NSBE budget and knowing how to fundraise, knowing how to talk to different corporations, different leaders, to get them involved and get them engaged is something really important, and also a very transferable skill to my career. So one of the things that NSBE has definitely taught me as well is there's a difference between a leader and a manager. So a leader is someone pretty much who inspires people to do things, and a manager basically manages things. You manage projects, you lead people. You manage projects and you lead people. So and once you marry the two of those, that's how you get important things done. So for me, that's what NSBE has taught me, and that's definitely something that is transferable, that has carried over in my career as well as even my personal life. So definitely one of the greatest things for me about being a NSBE leader.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shari. This has been fantastic to hear your journey. I thought I knew a lot about you, but I learned a lot more. I'm really glad that you ended with talking about the differences between being a leader and a manager, and just really showing where they cross-link. Thank you so much also to you for your continued commitment. Shari will be joining the Professional Executive Board next year because she's serving as chair-elect. So her commitment continues, and we're happy to have Shari. Thank you so much. Again, Shari's contact information is here on the slide displayed. Her region is very, very active also on social media, so be sure to catch them on Instagram. They are at R4 NSBE Pros. They have a lot of different events that they post for all of the chapters around their region. So if you're ever traveling there, you know, check them out. There's a lot happening. Excellent. All right. Well, now that we heard our leadership reflections, we are going to hear from Dr. Reginald Archer and how you can gear up to lead. So it gives me great pleasure to pass over the electronic mic to Dr. Reginald Archer, our PEB parliamentarian. Dr. Archer?
Thank you, Camilla, and thank you to Shari and Ashley and Denisha for your reflections. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Make sure that I'm being clear here. And I will also want to mention, thanks, Shari, for mentioning the board management. A lot of times in leadership, we consider leadership separate from governance. And as board members and what we're trying to push forward or push you all towards becoming board members on whichever board, whether it's a chapter board, a regional board, or the National Professionals Board. We have an opportunity to be a board of directors at each of those levels and to govern, where we do the management and the operations and developing policy and strategic goals. And then we marry that with the leadership, as Shari mentioned. And that's required to make sure that all those things happen and that we continue to do that and motivate others to sustain the work that we had strategized for in the first place and to continue to fulfill the mission. So it's important that we recognize that. And I want to just thank Shari for mentioning that also. So what I'm going to talk about a little bit is, now we know a little bit of the why, a little bit of the what, and I'm going to talk about a lot of the how, specifically how we become eligible as candidates, what the process will be in terms of elections. And I'll just start with our NSBE leadership year runs from May 1st through April 30th of each year. And that is the typical timeline. So after elections and all that settled, then our official positions start on May 1st and go through April 30th. So I just want you to keep that in mind. Some positions are 2-year positions and 1-year positions. I'll get into that. But the very first thing, the most important thing before we get into how long the position will take, what you'll do, what the duties are, we need to make sure that folks are eligible for candidacy. And that means eligible for either elected or appointed positions. In these next couple of slides, what I'm going to go through is the eligibility for National Professional Executive Board and some of the regional professional executive boards. But this also parallels the chapter executive boards. And all of this is guided by our respective constitutions, bylaws, and operating guidelines. And what you'll see here in these slides are the references to the sections within the Constitution or the bylaws or operating guidelines that refer to each of these particular aspects of eligibility and leadership. So to begin, we have candidate eligibility for the National Professional Executive Board. Is pretty clearly written out in the Constitution and in the professionals bylaws. And so they are listed here, and what we've also compiled is a candidate's handbook that I will show you here in a moment. The candidate's handbook describes all of these eligibility, all of what makes a candidate eligible, or what makes you eligible to become a candidate, the timelines, as well as the links that link you to the regional operating guidelines, the bylaws, the Constitution, and all those governing documents that describe how we operate. So for professional executive officers, and for those who don't know, within the professional executive board, whether that's chapter level, regional level, or national level, we have professional executive officers, which comprise of the chair, treasurer, secretary, and the programs chair. And am I missing one? In some cases, chair-elect or vice chair, depending on your governing documents. And these are the executive officers. And in this case, for a national board, we have specific criteria for eligibility, where you have to have been a member in good standing for at least 2 operational years immediately prior to the operational year of that office. Operational year, remember I mentioned that in the beginning, that May 1st to April 30th. So at least 2 years prior to that. And member in good standing is identified or is listed in the National Constitution, Article 3, Section 3A, D, and F. And you can reach the documents. I'll show you where to get to all the governing documents as well. All the remaining professional executive board positions are also identified, but those positions, you only need a year prior to that office. For regional positions, they follow a similar guidelines, except in most cases, it's 1 operational year. And typically you have to have been a member in that region in order to serve as regional board member. And so that's very important, that you just can't show up in the region today and tomorrow you jump on the board. While that may be okay for chapter boards, And so there are differences in the governing documents for at each of these different levels. And the other thing that I wanted to stress is that the national constitution supersedes all other documents. There is a documents review committee that goes through and makes sure that the documents align. And when they don't, we try to amend the documents to make sure that they align. But all of the documents have to fall in line with the national constitution, then the national bylaws, and then the national professionals bylaws, and on down the line. And so, the Constitution supersedes all the other documents in terms of where and how all the positions and duties and anything that we have in our governing documents, how they should fall in place. All of the other requirements that are for eligibility are outlined in the candidate's handbook, but they are no different than these. These are the main guidelines, or the main candidate eligibility guidelines. And the most important thing is that you must be, first off, a member in good standing, which means that you are a paid member. A lifetime member qualifies. If you are not a paid member, you are not eligible. Very simple. If you are paid through August 1st and then you don't renew your membership, you are no longer eligible to serve. And so this is something that you definitely have to keep in mind. You always have to be a paid member first and foremost. Secondly, you have to be in good standing in terms of your conduct. So we'll talk about code of conduct in a moment here. Lastly, you have to be a member who is verified by the verification policy, which I'll go into as well. So thank you. This candidate verification is very important. So we have a national verification policy, lastly approved in October 2017. And the document describes how the verification works, the basis for verification in the national constitution and bylaws, the purpose of verification, and the timeline and requirements. Now, this is just from the first section of the verification policy, and the policy describes what it takes to be verified as a professional member, what it takes to be verified as a graduate student, a professional member, because as a graduate student, you're eligible to serve as a professional member or as a collegiate member. And so, so that will, you can determine which board you would like to serve in as a graduate student, and your verification will determine, that will determine how you will be verified. The other part of the verification is that for most of the boards, for the regional and national boards, you have to be a member who has a degree in a STEM field that comes from a accredited institution. In our Constitution, it specifically states an ABET accredited institution. We have these as guidelines. We are in the verification policy. It specifically describes the majors that are acceptable majors, the ABET accreditation, and we also, in the guidelines, it also points to the sections in the Constitution and bylaws that govern the verification policy. The verification policy is a governing document that has been approved by the National Executive Board, and so it serves as one of our governing documents. And I'll show you where to find all the governing documents here shortly. So the official documents, if you want to get to the official documents, you can get to them right from the national website, from www.nsbe.org. You can go right to the official documents by going to the far right of the page. Next to the news, there's a little download button that you can click on, and it will show you the official downloads. The official downloads includes all of the official governing documents. In those downloads, it includes the Constitution and bylaws, the professionals bylaws, and other operating guidelines, as well as the verification policy and all the application materials. And I'll show you a list of those here in a moment. But if you don't know where to find those, and this is the first place to look, all you have to do is look for the official downloads. If you look, there's a search button in the national webpage as well. You can search for the Constitution, you can search for the bylaws, and you will see those things. But the easiest way to get there is through this official downloads. So if once you go to that page, you will see a list of all kinds of documents, and here's a list of documents that I've highlighted here. One of those documents will be the Professional Executive Board Candidates Handbook, as I referred to earlier. That includes all of the eligibility requirements and the timelines for our elections process and our candidate nominations, closing of applications, campaigning, and the timeline as we move towards the national convention where our elections will take place. And so that will all be included in the candidate's handbook. And I'll show you a glimpse of that here in a moment. The National Professionals Bylaws is listed there. The Code of Conduct, as I mentioned. NSBE does have a Code of Conduct. If you've attended any NSBE events, any official NSBE events at the regional level or at the national level, then you should have been exposed to the NSBE Code of Conduct. As a matter of fact, every time you renew your membership, you have to check that you have looked at the Code of Conduct. So if you have not read it, you should read it. It is a document that that we abide by, and you all should abide by that, including during your campaigning and as you are a leader. It also includes the history of NSBE and other fact sheets and oath of office, parliamentary procedures for those of you who are not familiar with those. The national verification policy isn't listed there, but I just asked for it to be listed here since it was. We've been looking at it and determining whether we need to update it again. So it will be listed there as well. But you have the National Constitution and you have the National Campaign Practices Code. So once we determine that you are eligible and you can start campaigning, there's a National Campaign Practices Code. And we have a code basically just to make sure that everybody's campaigning on equal footing and that we're not abusing the power of our offices, the power of our chapters and our regions, but that everybody has equal footing. On this same official downloads page, you will also find a list of applications. Now, these are the regional and national committee applications for the regional executive boards, not the professionals executive boards. We don't have those on that page yet. We can get them up there, but they're not there yet. But our professional executive board candidates handbook and application is listed there. This would take you to the same candidates handbook that I just showed you, referred to in the previous slide, but it's also there in this official downloads page. So the reason I'm showing you this is because I want you to know that all of this information is available to you. There are resources right at the website that you can go to and download and get to this information. Now, there will be a page that is specifically geared towards candidacy and elections, and that will be promoted up here in the next few weeks. And so you will get access to that, and it will just be elections related material. And it links back to this page and all the various links that are here, the campaign practices code, the verification policy, constitution, bylaws, and so forth. So now that you know where all the governing documents are, the application material, so what positions are currently being accepted? So the positions that are currently being accepted are also listed. Again, this is in the candidates handbook as well. Now we can go into, there are some positions that are 1 year and 2-year positions. And so the National Professional Secretary, Programs Chair, and Standing Committee Chair all serve 2-year terms. Standing Committee Chairs all serve 2-year terms, and they're staggered between odd and even years. And this is defined in the National Professionals Bylaws. And so, as you can see, the ones that are listed here, all of these positions here that are listed, National Chair-elect, National Treasurer-elect, National Secretary, Talent Development Chair, National Technical Excellence Chair, Pre-College Initiative Chair, and National College Initiative Chair are all eligible for candidacy this year. So we're going to be in an even year when the voting takes place, 2020, and all these positions are open. So if you're interested in running for one of these positions, then you should apply for one of these positions. The other positions will not be open until 2021. The national parliamentarian position is an appointed position, and the applications for appointed positions won't be posted until after convention. All the positional duties, the specific duties of each position are listed in the National Professionals bylaws or the Regional Professionals Executive Board operating guidelines, or your chapter operating guidelines or constitutions. They should be listed. If they're not listed, or if your chapter does not have one of those, then, well, it's probably not a chapter in good standing because it needs to have one. But you should refer to those for elections timelines, the positions, position descriptions, and so that people know what they're getting into. And it's very important that people understand the commitment, the dedication, the hard work that it takes, as our guests have already described. You know, it's tough to just volunteer, just put a lot of time and work into something that does not pay, but it is clearly worthwhile, as you heard from our guests, as you heard from Camila, and I can tell you, I've been doing this for quite a while. I never hate it. I love being part of this organization and helping to fulfill the mission. So the same position. Oh no, there are some positions also that are available in the at the regional level. All of those would be in the regional operating guidelines as well. And so if anybody needs to get access to those, of course, we can get those from the regional chairs or regional parliamentarians. So with that being said, and I'm sure there are lots of questions and we're going to get to the Q&A here in a moment, there are some important dates. The first important date is December 20th, where applications will be available online, everything will be open, and y'all can start putting together your application materials, answering the questions, getting all those things uploaded. We have here dates January 11th through February 11th, where it's a leadership style assessment. And this is something that we encourage all of the potential leaders, all of you to consider assessing yourselves, evaluating yourselves, using some type of leadership style assessment so that you have a good idea of, one, the kind of leadership style that you have, and how you might fit into the overall scheme of NSBE governance and NSBE leadership. And so those dates are there. Then February 12th, applications close and verification begins. So once the application is closed, then we need to verify that everyone is eligible. Everyone that has submitted their candidate application is eligible to apply before we post all your information and let everyone in the organization know that these are our candidates for elections. And once we do that, by the end of February, you can all start campaigning and encouraging people to vote. Around March 10th and 17th, March 10th or 17th, we will have a webinar similar to this one where we will ask the candidates to introduce themselves to the organization, to the membership, so that the membership can get a better idea of who they are. And then during the convention in San Antonio, March 26th, we'll have another Meet the Candidates, a question and answer period where the organizational members will get an opportunity to ask the candidates questions. So sort of a debate style. And then voting will occur on the Friday of convention. Or is that Saturday? Saturday of convention, right. And we announce all the winners at the closing event, the Golden Torch Awards on Saturday evening. Regional elections will also happen at the convention. They typically happen on Friday at regional meetings. And so, so those are also governed by the regional operating guidelines. And then post-convention, we will have our transition meeting. The transition meeting is an opportunity for the old officers to transition to new officers and transition overall as a board and come up with the strategies and vision for the new year and to start working towards that. And official duties begin almost immediately after the transitioning, where official duty begins for the operational year starting May 1st. Following that, the next opportunity for the leadership will be the National Leadership Conference, where we basically train the trainers at that point. We train the trainers in terms of leadership, professional development, in the leadership standpoint of governance. We talk about parliamentary procedure and just NSBE operations in general. And we work towards making those more effective and more efficient, and making sure that everybody has a good understanding of how we operate and how we move and how we lead the organization forward together. And lastly, on this calendar, I have to plug it in because I am the Professional Development Conference chairperson. We will be hosting our Professional Development Conference in Miami, August 12th through 16th. And of course, I hope to see you all there. All of you in leadership, all the 70 plus, 80 plus, 1,000 plus that's watching online. And so those are our key dates, and that is our calendar.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Archer. That was fantastic.
Let me just, if I may, let me just pull up on my screen here. Well, I don't know. If we have time to do that, I'll do that. Let's get to the questions and discussion.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, because I'll probably have to stop sharing, and I think we have a few questions that are in the queue. So
yeah, let's get.
Yeah, Dr. Archer, thank you for doing such a thorough review of the process of the how. I think that's so important, and I think that one of the things that we talked about as an overall professional executive board is being able to get things out early to potential persons who are interested in leadership, even folks who are just curious. So really happy that you put this together. It's very succinctly organized, and also the key dates, as it was mentioned by our guest speakers, that work-life balance is a challenge, right? So, we are answering the call of that and having these dates out ahead of time so that you could plan for your potential role of either as a leader or just as to continue as a member and support. So we're going to transition over to some questions, and we already have a few questions in the queue. And actually, the first question is for one of our panelists, the direct one for our panelists. And if we have time, we can have our other panelists answer. And looks like here it is. Okay, so the question came from Mary Simmons. Mary, good evening. How are you? And the question is for Ashley Coleman. So Ashley, Mary states that you mentioned challenges with engagement with membership, and was wondering if you could share a little bit more about some of those challenges and what help you may need.
Okay, thank you, Mary, for your question. So just my perspective, we've had several members, before me, do great jobs within NSBE. Maybe they left the area. We've got new members coming in. Maybe they're not ready to step up into leadership. We've got people involved in various other activities in Charlotte. So trying to get people to still be engaged in NSBE, or finding the right time where people are able to participate, and also having help from the general body to fill in the positions of the chapter, whether that's helping out with preparing a budget or promoting the chapter through our social media outlets, or informing the community or various companies. I need help in those areas just to even run the organization, to get people to come out and to stay. So it's more of an organizational thing, and trying to get people to get on board as leaders to help run the chapter.
Thank you, Ashley. And I was wondering if Denisha and Shari would want to weigh in on that question as well. And just to repeat it, so Ashley and both Denisha had mentioned the challenge of membership engagement. And the question is there anything else that you're hoping to try to improve that, and what other help would you need from the organization?
This is Denisha. The one thing that I can say is that support of actual events is key, because members say that they want specific things, but when you sometimes deliver on those things, it's not necessarily maybe what the membership wanted exactly. as attended as you wanted it to be. And it could be just when it was planned or the timing of the event, or in general, the support of some of our regional leaders would be nice at events, especially events that we have at corporate partners. Why that's important is that when a lot of the companies are coming to professional chapters looking for engagement with our members, but they don't really see beyond just that chapter, it's kind of like disheartening on both sides of the point. So I would hope that we'd be more collaborative about sharing each other's events. So if the region is doing something, we can also be there to support those events as well.
Okay. And Shari, would you like to also weigh in as well from a regional perspective?
Regionally, we don't have as many events. Basically, we do FRC like regionally, and that's kind of where we pause on like the event thing. However, I can't say that we would like to support more of our chapters events. So we do ask our chapters submit events to us, or if you want things to go on our social media so people can attend that may be in the area for that week or something for work, then to let us know. And then also if we're in the area, we can do that. So I know like in my this is my third year on the regional board, but every year that we've done it, that I've been here, that we have really wanted to do quote unquote road shows. So when chapters have large events, we try to travel to those events if we're able. So I know that people like in Chicago come to some Milwaukee events and things like that. So if you're in kind of a distance, we do try to attend those events for our chapters and be that support, because again, we do want to support everything that our chapters do, because again, that's the ground level, that's where the magic happens. And we want to let you guys know that we're supporting you and that we see what you're doing and that we also want to be part of it. So again, we know there are challenges with engagement, and so we do try to help that as well on the regional level.
Thank you, Shari. I'm really glad that you mentioned the power of social media, and I just want to give a shout out to all the chapters and regions who have connected with one another and who have been reposting and posting all of each other events. It helps all of us to keep in the loop as to what's happening. Many of us travel for business or personal, and it always helps to be able to go on your Instagram or your Twitter or your Facebook and be able to see, hey, what's happening in the Milwaukee area? What's happening in Chicago? What's happening in LA or Dallas or Houston? So we definitely want to encourage you guys to continue doing that. There are a few more questions that are coming in on the Zoom here, and some of them are more related to communication. So we'll see if we could answer those. Dr. Archer, I'm sure you could support with some of the responses as well. So there was one question that came in from Charles Oji. Charles, thank you for joining tonight. And one of Charles's questions is, how do you keep in touch and know about upcoming NSBE committee conference call times and phone, and with the phone numbers and the access codes? So I did send a message back to Charles. I wanted to know which one in particular, but his question is in general about webinars like this, webinars that the regionals are having, and also chapter level. So Charles, I will also type the response, but as Shari mentioned, right now, we are really trying to utilize a lot of social media. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram are very active right now across many chapters, many regions, as well as the national Instagram account, NSBE Pro. So that is one way to definitely keep in touch. Our communication zone, which is led by Maurice Patterson, as well as Takia Saab, who's our publicist, they really do a great job releasing our professional e-news once per month. If you are not connected on that and you have not been getting our newsletter, please make sure to send an email to our general email box, which is professionals@nsbe.org. Again, that's professionals@nsbe.org. I will put that in the comment box so that everyone sees it. We do have another question that has come across from Kristen Madison. Kristen, thank you for your question. It says here, could you go over the process of getting a lifetime membership? So Kristen, I think Dr. Archer may have mentioned the word lifetime membership as he talked about membership classifications. In order to be a lifetime member, if you log into your NSBE Connect, when you go to renew your membership, if you don't do it by starting on our August 1st date, you can go in there and you do have the option to select a lifetime membership. Right now, the lifetime membership cost is $1,200, and our world headquarters does offer you the opportunity to pay in installments. So that is available to you. I would certainly encourage you to go on there, take a look if you have any questions. We do have a membership chair on the PEB, Mr. Eric Bryant. You could reach out to him directly if you have particular questions beyond what is on NSBE Connect. And he could be reached at pebmembership@nsbe.org. And there is another question here from Kristen. Any plans on starting a Slack channel? Well, Kristen, there are some chapters that use Slack, but however, the NSBE Professionals as well as our regional boards have been primarily using Facebook Workplace. Facebook Workplace is a new chat group that we started using via the Facebook platform. And we actually have a number of chat groups that are on there. We have some for the PEB board, regional boards have one, and we also have a general one for all members. So if you haven't already joined it, go to Facebook Workplace and take a look us up, NSBE Professionals, and you'll be able to join. So far, so good. I think that we've all been okay on the platform. Dr. Archer, I don't know if you want to give your thoughts on how user-friendly the Facebook Workplace platform is for communication. And I think we may have lost Dr. Archer. Okay. All right. Any other questions? I am looking back at our chat screen here. I see a few. Okay. Okay. Mary Simmons wanted to clarify her question about membership engagement. So her question is, what has helped with membership engagement? So our three panelists, if you could give a response to that as well. So she wants to know what has helped you with membership engagement thus far.
I'll go first. I'll go first. This is Ashley. So recently we tried something new. I've been in conversation with past board members from our chapter, and we put together a survey and we sent it out on our social media platforms, and I sent emails directly to the membership to participate on, where are they in their career? What are they looking for from NSBE? What are things that they see that we could add as value? And so from that, I put together a summary and I sent it back to some of our past leadership. So now we're in the process of taking that information and trying to plan out for the upcoming year. And hopefully that will help address some things from the survey that will help us move forward with engagement from the body.
Thanks, Ashley.
Hi, this is Tanisha. One of the things that I can say is that we're blessed to be turning 30 as a chapter in 2020. And one of the best strategies that we have introduced is to what we call engaging our past, present, and our future. And so a lot of the things that have worked well is engaging some of our legacy or OG members and our newer career members, as well as our youth. So programs that tend to be focused on youth-driven activities are very popular. And then secondarily, giving people a space to be able to fellowship. Because one of the things that my members have said that they want is the opportunity to be around other engineers and talk about the challenges that they face in the corporate environment, because they may be the only one that looks like them in wherever they work. So try to plan mixers. Like we tend to every other month go to a bar and just have a powwow with our membership. And I think that accessibility gets people more engaged in some of the activities that are not so social.
Denisha, there's also a question that came in for you specifically about New York. So the question comes from Joanna Smith, and it says, how strong is the NSBE Excel Professionals chapter in New York City? Are there various events within the New York City area? And Denisha, I know you're going to plug the 2 events coming up now.
Okay, so yes, the chapter is very busy. We have a number of events that will be going on from now until June, as a matter of fact. So if you email info@nsbenyc.org and ask to be added to the listserv, or even Instagram us and direct message us, we'll make sure that we add you to our chapter listserv so that you get some of our upcoming events. Tomorrow we're doing the Urban Professional Mixer. Unfortunately, that event sold out, so we're at capacity on that event. But on Saturday, we're doing a community service at a shelter in the Bronx, serving over 150 families that are in a shelter, and we're throwing a healthy holiday party for those people. So we're providing services like toy wrapping, gently used clothing. So as I said, if you want to know more information about activities that the chapter will be hosting, our Facebook page, our Instagram, and send an email, and we will add you to our listserv, and you'll get all the updated events. January, February, March, April, we're going to actually have a number of events in celebration of our 30th year, 30 touches for our 30th year. So there's going to be a number of events that are going to be geared from young professionals all the way to C-suite and executive level activities. So I look forward to some of you coming in and having the opportunity to celebrate our 30th year with us.
That's great. Thank you, Denisha. All right, I do see one more question here from Albert Miller, and it says, can you assist chapters in building relationships with corporate partners? Albert, that's such a great question. We do have our National Finance Chair, Mr. Johnny Tangle, whom I just met with last week just to go over 6 months how we have been engaging from a financial standpoint with our financial and non-financial partners. I'm going to send you a message with his email there because I know that he's working with his regional counterparts, which should also be extended to chapters as well, to actually discuss what the strategy is for building those relationships with corporate partners who are in your area. So I will respond to you on this platform here, and also hope that you'll be able to engage with Johnny as well. All right. Okay. So
Camille, if I can jump in here for
sure, of course, Dr. Archer, and welcome back. I did see your message.
Yeah, thanks. So sorry guys, my laptop died, but I'm back. And I just wanted to add, and this is based on the last couple of questions, I think since we're talking about leadership and getting involved, I think it presents a great opportunity to even go back to the question about engaging members, engaging new members. And I think one of the ways to do that is by delegating, right? There's always somebody that wants to see something new in the chapter. So Camilla started this conversation in mentioning being able to hear what the membership is really looking for. And a lot of times our chapters, local chapters, we as leaders, we come in with these great ideas and we're like, all right, this is what we're going to do as a chapter. And we're not necessarily listening to the membership all the time. sorry, when we do listen to our membership, then we can take an opportunity to engage them. So if there's a member that says, you know, I would like our chapter to do this, then it's a nice opportunity to say, hey, you know, how would you like to help us do that? And now I can engage that member, and that member may not want to be in leadership, but they might want to be active in getting some things done. The reason I say it's all connected, because in terms of the last couple of questions, like Albert Miller's question, in terms of assisting with building relationships with corporate partners, this is a nice opportunity for you to reach out to the finance chairs at the regional level and the national level and talk about how you can get involved in that and start to learn the process and become engaged. And next thing you know, you can be the next finance chair, and so on and so forth. And this is how we start to build our leadership, and we train the next leaders and sustain the quality leadership that we need in order to keep the organization growing.
Thank you very much, Dr. Archer. That was fantastically put. And I think that is the end of the questions that we have on both ends on the Zoom chat, as well as the questions that were sent privately. So typically these webinars go for an hour, but we have dutifully gone far past that. And in good measure, we're really happy that we've had so much engagement. I think I saw our highest attendance number at about 80, which I think is the highest that we've had for the year. So that's fantastic. We really appreciate everybody's engagement, and definitely leadership is at the core of what we do. I did see some questions asked about when is the next webinar, and we are happy to announce that the next webinar will be Wednesday, January 15th, and the topic will be what to expect at TPC 2020, which is our Technical Professional Conference. That is going to take place in San Antonio, Texas. And we are looking forward to hear what Dr. D. Miller, who's our conference planning chair, has been planning. So please mark your calendars for Wednesday, January 15th, 2020 at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We ask that you all stay in touch with us via our social media accounts. Again, we are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We are NSBE Pro. Also, make sure that you are connected and getting our e-news that goes out. Our communication zone does a great job assembling that information, and it goes out at the top of the month. If you are not getting that newsletter, please, please, please send an email to professionals@nsbe.org. I will put that also in the chat. And on behalf of the National Society of Black Engineers and our current chairman, Julius Hudson, we do want to say thank you so much for attending this webinar series focused on leadership. We want to extend a thank you to my co-host, Dr. Reginald Archer. I'm going to round of applause. And also say thank you to our invited leaders, Ms. Ashley Coleman of the Charlotte Professionals, Ms. Denisha McPherson of the New York Excel Professionals, and also our Region 4 Chair-elect, Ms. Shari Briggs. So thank you so much, everyone. We appreciate your attendance. Have a happy, safe, and wonderful holiday. And please stay engaged with us. We're always looking for you to keep your membership updated. If you are new to the organization, welcome. We happen to have you. We are running our year-round membership campaign. Please, please, please connect to the NSBE Tech Revolution, and have a good night, good morning, and good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you so much.